We won't call him again until the Brewers are in the World Series. And according to Jesse, with Freddie Peralta that he doesn't believe in, it's going to be tough to get there. Joining us now, he is the preeminent baseball voice on ESPN. He knows everything, and he makes us smarter every time he joins us. It is Jeff Passan on Wilde and Tauscher. Jeff, good morning. How are you, buddy?
It's a false premise to think that just because I have somebody on the do not answer list doesn't mean that I wouldn't actually answer it. Jesse's been there from the beginning. And sometimes I just, sometimes you want to do nice things for nice people. And that's you, Jason. You're not the one who hired Jesse. You're not the one who's into bowling.
I'm also not the one who's very worried about our horse pitch. Our ace is on the mound, and Jesse thinks it's a bad idea. Please, Jesse, tell Jeff what your theory is, because I don't want to misrepresent how stupid you're being.
I'm not saying don't pitch Freddie Peralta. I'm saying I don't have total confidence in Freddie Peralta because his recent playoff starts in must-win games, which we are viewing tonight as a must-win game, have not been stellar. He's the James Franklin of MLB starting pitchers of recent memory. He has not performed well in the biggest games that we've needed him in his career. And tonight is one of those nights. I'll be there cheering him on, but I'm nervous that he's going to have a performance like he did in Game 4 against the Cubs.
Jeff?
I don't think it's unwarranted, but at the same time, who would you rather have out there than Freddie Peralta?
Well,
he wants to pitch the Miz.
Jeff, you were on this show when I had a day off in July.
Worked out well for everybody.
Wasn't an accident.
But you said something that day about when we were in the middle of Miz Mania, that the Miz has special stuff to be an elite ace in Major League Baseball. And I don't think it's a coincidence that last week, Pat Murphy threw Freddie Peralta in Game 4, which was not a must-win at Wrigley Field, and brought the Miz in, who delivered in Game 5 at home against the Cubs. How about that?
Yeah, you're not convincing me.
That was worth a
I
shot.
feel better now.
Here's the thing. Jacob Mizorowski is going to pitch in this series, and he's going to pitch in an important game, and all games are important. I mostly agree with you that tonight is a must-win. I'm not entirely there. There have been 27 series, I think 28 now after yesterday, where the home team has lost the first two games of a 7-game series in baseball. 3 times teams have come back from that. So it's not impossible, but you guys have gotten a pretty good look at the Dodgers at this point, and I think last night was a game that's reflective of what they are right now, which is a team that is built around pitching, and yet there's not a whole lot of pitchers that they have a ton of faith in, and it's what should give Brewers fans hope. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is sort of like Freddie Peralta in that, big games, the last start out wasn't very good, but has the ability to go out there and throw 6 or 7 shutout innings. And frankly, the Dodgers are going to need that because we saw Roki Sasaki last night. For the first time, looked like he was vulnerable this postseason, and Blake Snell needed Bryce Terang to chase that pitch out of the zone on 2-2 because otherwise they're 3-2 and ball out of the strike zone there. That game could have been tied very easily. I'll say this. I know the Brewers lost last night. I know any home loss, especially game 1 of a series, can be pretty heartbreaking. But they were facing the guy who right now in Blake Snell is pitching as well as anybody on the planet. And I really appreciated the fight that they showed. They got sunned for 8 innings, and then they came out in the 9th and looked like they still had that moxie that we've seen all season long. So I don't think the Brewers are going to roll over. I think the Dodgers are a better team, but better teams don't always win in October, and one loss does not a chaotic situation make.
Jeff, doesn't this come down to, yeah, you said last night, the 8 innings, it was a thing of, it was masterful. Then you get into that bullpen. Isn't that that's what this lineup needs to do, right? Is find ways to get into that Dodgers bullpen, because you look at the regular season and how it played out with the Dodgers and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers got into that pen, and that's how they ended up, I think, going 6-0 against them. So isn't that the formula for this series too?
Yeah, I do think that if you look back at who the Dodgers were playing at the time, they were pretty banged up. This is a different Dodgers team. This is like the version of themselves that they've been waiting all season to unleash. So I do think that there's stuff that you can take from those 6 games that they won in July, but I think the smarter thing to do would be to look at, okay, what have we got right now? What are we facing that's directly in front of us? Because the more you harp on the things you did, the less you spend time thinking about the things you have to do now. And what the Brewers have to do, they have to work deep into at bats. They cannot let a starting pitcher go 8 innings, because that's the formula the Dodgers want to go and advance to the World Series this year. That's what they know they're going to have to do with the lack of trust in the bullpen and with their offense struggling the way it has. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the Brewers being patient. And when a guy is throwing quality pitches to the extent that Blake Snell was yesterday, it's really hard to be patient. Like I saw this in games 1 and 2 of the ALCS. In game 1 in particular, Bryce Miller goes out and throws 27 pitches in the first inning. And after that, I think he had 10. I think the Mariners had something like 6 innings of sub-10 pitches, which is insanely efficient. And they did that because they're throwing strikes. And if you are in the zone, and if you are getting ahead of hitters, they're going to be aggressive early on, because they know that free passes aren't on the table. They understand that you're somebody who gets the ball 4 strikes and can get ahead in the counts. And then you have to start making decisions that you might not make otherwise. So it's all about making the batter uncomfortable through living in the zone. And that's something that I think is going to be the key if the Brewers want to win this series.
Jeff, have you ever seen a double play like you saw last
No.
night with the 8-6-2 unassisted? Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's got to be the first in history, right? Like what an exceptionally weird play, and what it takes for something like that to happen is a lot of fortune. I mean, the ball falling right into Sal Frelick's glove, the perfect relay with Joey Ortiz, William Contreras having the knowledge in the field to make sure his foot's on the plate so he can get the force out and then run down to third base. And beyond that, Teoscar Hernandez just making a blunder, because that's what it was. That doesn't happen if Teoscar Hernandez understands that the second the ball is in Sal Frelick's glove, whether he caught it or whether it hit the wall or whatever the case is, you got to be running. There's no excuse, none whatsoever, to get thrown out from over 400 feet away.
Talking with Jeff Passan on Wilde and Tausch. Jeff, you're in Toronto, Jesse tells me, so you went to those first 2 games. I, as a story lover, not necessarily someone who's worried about ratings, I want like the Seattle Pilots World Series. I want Brewers Mariners.
I mean, as somebody who lives in the Midwest and appreciates the plight of smaller markets, I would love that too. And I would love it because it would give us a World Series with a first-time champ, right?
Right.
Like that to me is everything. I want to see cities that have rooted for teams for decades fruitlessly, with no seeming light at the end of the tunnel, finally get to experience what it's like to win a championship. Nothing in sports to me is better than a city celebrating something after spending decades just waiting for it. It validates sports fandom. It's the reason that we watch these games. The little dopamine rushes that they give us every day, it's wonderful. But everything being part of a bigger plan, that's where the good stuff is.
So I bring that up because, and would say this behind your back, even if you're not. Like, I don't know how you know all that you know about all 30 teams. Like, I cover the Packers. I feel like I'm a pretty good expert when it comes to that. I don't know the other 31 teams. I don't know how you do it. But as I have watched this Brewers season, and I love the storylines, I saw something where Pat Murphy is talking to Bob Costas, and he talks about how it's about the people, it's about the who. And as a former college coach, I'm fascinated by the culture he's created. And they have to be good players, I get it. But as the father of a college baseball player, as someone who is around all these managers all the time, is he vastly different than other like, is he in a different category, or do I just not know enough of the other managers to be able to say, no, this guy's a lot like Pat Murphy, that guy's a lot like Pat Murphy? Am I just not well-versed enough to know that there's others of his ilk?
No, I think that's a totally fair statement, actually, because Pat Murphy is a dying breed. The baseball lifer who got his opportunity far later than most. The baseball lifer who doesn't have the resume of some of these guys. That is like, for him to ascend the way that he has, and then to so seamlessly slide into this job like he's had it for 15 years and like he's been a lifer in Major League Baseball, has been one of the most deft transitions I've ever seen. And I've been covering baseball for upward of 25 years now.
Yeah.
Craig Counsell, when he was in Milwaukee, seemingly had a well-oiled machine working. And what he did with some of the Brewers' bullpens and the strategic moves that he made, and taking this team that's on a pretty skinflint payroll every year and helping shape it into a winner, he created that. But what Pat Murphy's done is take what Craig Counsell put in place and make it his own. And it is a really, really difficult thing to do. You have to have a forceful personality and extreme confidence in yourself and your abilities to walk into that room when Counsell's done things the way that he has for as many years as he did in Milwaukee, and say, I appreciate all of these things. I'm going to take the best parts of them, but I'm also going to make this clubhouse my own. And I think Pat Murphy has unequivocally done that, and it's been a wonderful thing to see, because other guys in that position might not be the forces of nature that Murph is, but you spend 5 minutes with the guy, and he's one of the most charming people that you're ever going to meet, and you can tell that he cares. And I think the players feel that care, and they want to run through brick walls for him.
Yeah, the only things I don't like about him are that fictional letter that he claimed was written by Bob Uecker, and the fact that he makes people introduce themselves when they are new to the press conferences. Like, he even did that to Jesse, which he didn't know what kind of can of worms he was opening there. Does he make you do that? I mean, you're Jeff Blanken Passan.
I haven't covered a Brewers game this postseason yet, so we will see.
So you're going to have to.
Well, get ready.
Who's this guy?
You know what? Sometimes in situations like that, like when in Rome, I don't ever begrudge anyone for that. I appreciate the fact that in a time now where interpersonal communication is as poor as any of us have ever seen it, that somebody wants to rely on just sort of an old school way of doing things. And what he asks of others, I ask my sons to do when they meet people. So I don't think politeness and getting to know someone's name and address them by name is ever a bad thing.
Just tell him you're Schefter. All right, we want to play one last thing. So when you were on earlier this year, it was before the trade deadline, and Jesse, against all odds, has this clip ready for us. So here is Jeff Passan, with Jeff Passan on live and on Memorex, talking about where the Brewers were as the trade deadline approached on Wilde and Tausch?
I think the Brewers are one big bat away from being a legitimate World Series contender. Like, I think that's what the ceiling of this team is. And I think they could probably use another relief arm, though, honestly, the way that McGill and Uribe have pitched this year, the way that Ashby has looked lately in particular, it's like, man, they keep adding, and they keep getting better.
So you may turn out to still very much be right, but later on in that clip, you also say, I don't know who that bat is. There might not be one that's worthwhile going after. Andrew Vaughn kind of ends up filling that role to some degree.
Yeah.
What do you think
the
of
day Vaughn made his debut with the Brewers?
Right. So how do you kind of view that now? And look, they could lose this series. It could end by you going, boy, if they'd had one more big bat, maybe they do win the series and they are in the World Series, right?
Yeah, and I look at the Tigers and the Brewers actually in the same regard. Two teams that have excellent farm systems and did not dip into them at the trade deadline, because what is Matt Arnold always trying to do with this organization? It is ever more a balancing act between how much do we pour into the team that we have right now versus how much do we save going forward. And when you're an organization that runs $125 million payroll in a $500 million payroll world, those are the really hard decisions that you do have to make. And if things go sideways in this series for the Brewers, there will always be that second guessing. And I get it. It's understandable. It's easy to do in the aftermath of disappointment, potentially. But I do think the Brewers, as currently constituted, are still good enough to beat the Dodgers. I think that happens. If you play this series out 100 times, it happens 45. But at the end of the day, guys, I'm always a talent person. I will always bet on talent. And I just think that the Dodgers have a little bit more than the Brewers right now. And maybe that changes in the future. You know, maybe Jesus Mate comes up and is the star that everybody I talk with who's seen him think he's going to be. And maybe it's Cooper Pratt, and maybe it's Luis Pena, and maybe it's all of them. The present, as good as it is for the Brewers, I think actually pales compared to the future. And I think this has the Brewers right now have the opportunity to put together the best 5-year run that we have seen from them in the franchise's history. And they just need to keep being good at what they do, which is drafting and signing internationally, developing players, and if they do dip into free agency, hitting on that. And I did a breakdown of the roster. It was really interesting to look at it. The Brewers' 26-man roster in the NLCS has one major league free agent, and that's Jose Quintana. They build things differently than just about every other team, and what they've built right now is made for a pretty fantastic 2025 season that, hopefully for the people of Milwaukee, won't be over in the next week.
He is ESPN's Jeff Passan. He is the absolute best, and I will tell you this, we never, ever, ever take you for granted, and we appreciate you always making time for us, even though you don't even like Jesse that much.
I was
Thanks,
going to
Jeff.
say Jesse does, but the rest of you guys, thank you. I appreciate that. And Jesse, go into a closet.
I'll text you next week.
See ya.
That is the great Jeff Passan. We are always smarter when we get to talk to him.
Why is Jesse now more happy about with Passan saying that we have our best 5 years ahead of us? He is sitting here freaking out, saying we don't have a chance tonight, and
like
he's
waving
whipping
a
his
towel
towel because Passan says that we have a great 5-year run coming, and this is just we're way ahead of schedule. I heard him basically say we're way ahead of schedule, and we have a 5-year run where we're going to be better than we are right now.
This is dynasty opportunity here is what he's saying. If we win it this year, heck yeah, watch out.
Okay.